Hello and welcome to Supposedly Fun. My name is Greg.
I'm Joel.
You all know Teddy. Surprise, this is Scout. Now before you get really excited, we did not get a second dog. So this is just temporary. But Scout is a foster dog. The same rescue organization that got us Teddy put out a call for a Welsh Terrier that needed to be rehomed who was based in Wyoming. And you happened to be in Wyoming for work last week. So Scout came home with Joel.
And he's not a very happy car traveler, so it was a very long 7 hours.
Yeah.
But he and I did it. We got along great.
Yeah.
He's a very sweet dog. Has a little anxiety issues.
Yeah.
But he and Teddy are kind of getting along fairly well.
Mostly because I think Teddy he's not happy that there's a second dog in the house, but he's so mellow that he just is tolerating it pretty well. But so it's temporary. But Scout he's a really good dog. So if you happen to be in the Pacific Northwest and are thinking about a Welsh Terrier, I will put the contact information for Welsh Terrier Cares, which is the organization, yes, down below. That's the organization that the rescue is going through and we are fostering with. He's a very good dog. He just does have anxiety, especially in the car, but we're working on that. And he's already made a lot of progress.
He's doing so well in 2 days already.
Yeah. I honestly believe in his last house, he just was not getting paid attention to. I don't think he was getting a lot of activity. So in just a few days with us getting out for walks every day, getting rides in the car and trying to get him, like short rides, to try to get him used to it and being paid attention to, I think I've already seen a drastic difference.
I have too.
Yeah.
And but when we put our coats on to leave, he gets a little separation anxiety.
Yeah.
But I think he just wants to go with us.
I think so.
Because he's been stuck in the house for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And doesn't get much. And the poor owner had no clue what to do with a Welsh Terrier.
Yeah.
So she shaved his little muzzle, and he should have a handsome little goatee like that.
Yeah, Welsh Terriers are supposed to have beards and eyebrows, and it's going to grow in.
It will.
And he's a cutie.
He has a little mustache happening right now.
He kind of does. It's starting to happen.
Yeah.
So he is actually also the typical size of a Welsh Terrier, and Teddy's just a big guy, like our previous dog Guinness was. And speaking of which, we both are rocking our Jameson merchandise in honor of our other dog that we lost. So, yeah, that's the deal. I don't know how long he's going to stay in Joel's lap, but we wanted to introduce him for you since he is staying with us for, however long it takes. And we'll see.
Yeah.
What we're really here to do is sort of wrap up 2024 as a reading year in terms of a little bit of data that we got from the StoryGraph. If you haven't made the switch to StoryGraph, I love it so much more than I ever loved Goodreads. It's great.
Yes.
And so we went through our stats. We do I don't know what they call their premier level of StoryGraph. I can't remember. Plus. So we are StoryGraph Plus. So we get extra stats, which is fun. So we both pulled our stats for 2024. And we're also going to get screenshots that I'll sort of mix in somehow when we edit them up. So he seems a little jumpy. Are you going to be okay?
I think so. Let's give it a try.
We'll give it a try and see how it goes. By the way, this is Jameson's old sweater. So Teddy was big enough that he could wear Guinness's old sweaters. Scout is the same size as Jamie. So it's just funny how that works.
He's about 22 pounds.
Yeah. So
a pure love.
Yeah, but it is funny that we put Jamie's sweater on him and it just fits perfectly.
Yeah.
So keeps him warm.
Again, if you know anybody who's in the Pacific Northwest and would like to adopt a sweet pup, let us know.
I think he would a Welsh Terrier. Yeah, I think anybody who is a little bit active, like gets out for hikes and walks, but also if you just pay attention to him, I think he would be fine. I think he just needs a home that isn't going to leave him
by himself
for hours and hours and hours, and then not take him for a walk at the end of the day. I think he would thrive with that. So anyway, were you going to say something, or should we get into stats?
Let's just jump into stats.
All right.
Statistics.
So the first stat that we pulled was just basic number of books read in 2024. I read 93 books and my goal was 75.
And I read 78 books and my goal was 75.
Yeah. I think I had read more books. I read 100 books the year before. I like to set that at an achievable goal because the number of books I read doesn't necessarily mean anything to me.
Yeah.
But I think it's fun to be able to watch your progress toward the goal during the year. So I set the same goal, 75 books.
And I read like 108 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and I just felt like that just killed me. And I didn't get a time to really sit on a book for a while.
Yeah, and enjoy it. I'd set the same goal for 2025, which is 75. Again, I don't really mind because if I end up reading like some books that are more of a project, it's fine. Like if I spend more time on them, but 75 feels like an achievable goal for me. So, and I don't keep track of pages, but you do. So we did note that down. So I read 24,972 pages, which is kind of surprising because I read a lot of novellas in 2024.
And I read 6,062 pages. The reason I count my pages is because I don't read that many physical or ebooks, and I want to get more into that.
Yeah.
So because I drive so much, I do more audiobooks. So
yeah. And do you want to do moods or the breakdown between fiction and nonfiction first?
let's do fiction, nonfiction.
Okay. I really heavily leaned toward fiction. I did 89% fiction in 2024 and only 11% nonfiction.
And I did 79% fiction and 21% nonfiction.
Yeah, and you had a good nonfiction.
And I had a good
year.
nonfiction year too. So
Yeah.
I was pretty happy with that.
I'll put all of our best videos of 2024 down below, including the nonfiction one, because there really were some interesting nonfiction reads.
What was your mood? What was your vibe
My mood,
reading?
I'm pretty sure it was actually, my vibe was the same as it was in 2024.
I think they all are.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think ours are very similar.
They
What do
are.
you know? Our vibes are similar. So my number one mood, according to the StoryGraph for 2024, was emotional.
And mine was emotional.
Look at that.
Yeah.
And my number two was reflective.
Mine was funny.
Oh, I like that. My number three was lighthearted.
My number 3 was lighthearted.
Look at us.
Yeah.
And my number 4 was funny.
Mine was reflective.
Yeah. And my number 5 was hopeful.
Hopeful.
Yeah. So
So yeah, we're right there.
we are a vibe. And I think right underneath that, it started getting into things like dark and challenging. Sad for both of us. So it's like it needed to balance a lot of the heavier reading with some lighthearted
Exactly.
stuff. Because the world's on fire.
And it is.
Yeah.
So
And I'm going to take a sip of tea.
yeah, we have a hot little tea here because it's very cold out, but beautiful.
Cinnamon cardamom tea, by the way.
One of our favorites.
It is one of our favorites. We have a lot of it because we like it so much.
How are your genres? Do you want to talk genres?
Let's talk genres. My number one genre, surprising absolutely no one, was LGBTQIA+.
Mine too.
What do you know? We read a lot of queer books.
I read 38 queer books.
Oh, I didn't get
fell in
it.
that.
I didn't get a number.
No.
Oh, he's the efficient one in our house. So I did get a number. So you did 38?
38, yes.
That's a good number.
What was your second?
My second was literary.
Mine was romance. Shocking.
But again,
Yeah.
we really needed a balance
We did,
and some joy in 2024, and that's probably going to continue.
And
in
I read
2025.
32 romance books, so.
Yeah.
Out of 78, that's just a little under 50%. So I think my goals in the next year are going to have to be some more literary.
Yeah. I mean, but I think it's... I have really been enjoying romance, so I'm not going to let it go.
Honestly, I just read a series of romance books. I think it was 4 of them by A.J. Truman. And it starts with The Falcon and the Foe. And all these books had a really great underlying story. I mean, yeah, they all meet. It's a friends, enemy to friends romance series of 4 of the Single Dads Club. The underlying tone behind all the romance was super good. And I don't discount them because there's some really great stuff in there.
And like all of the Abby Jimenez books they're romance books, but they all like hit a part of my soul and helped me come to terms with and learn things about myself and other people. So I don't mind.
What was your number 3?
My number 3 was contemporary.
Mine too.
Look at us.
I know.
My number 4. Oh, what was your number for contemporary?
28 books.
Since you were efficient and actually got a number. My number 4 was romance. So look at that. I'm still in there.
My number 4 was literary, 13 books.
So we're still about the same.
Yeah.
Well, actually, my number 5 was historical. What was your
mystery?
Oh, so we
which
different
that kind
there.
of fits for me.
Yeah, and I don't do a lot of mysteries anymore.
Yeah, and I should do more some historicals. Because there are some historical fiction books that I kind of want to get into now in November on the Death Bowl.
Oh, that's a good one.
So,
yeah,
I want to start doing some more historical fiction stuff.
Yeah, and what were your numbers for
mystery?
Your last 2, because I think I cut you off before you did it.
Literary was 13 and mystery was 10.
And there you go.
Yeah.
So now let's talk about the divide between print, digital, and audio. All right. Well, you say yours first since you already look embarrassed. So you go first.
I wouldn't say embarrassed, but audio was 77%, digital was 19%, and an actual holding print book was 4%.
So I think are you concerned that it's mostly audio?
I just kind of laugh at it as more audio. I honestly I can't hold a physical book that well, and in bed I can't read a physical book.
Yeah,
so it has to be an ebook.
Yeah, it's kind of dark.
And which I don't mind ebooks, but I'm not going to get on this terror of Scribd Everend, but my ebook supply has diminished, and I just don't have that many ebooks to deal with right now.
Yeah.
Because we said goodbye to Scribd.
Yes, we did, and good riddance.
That's a whole nother video.
That is a whole other video, but I know a lot of other people have also said goodbye to them recently, so we just got fed up. So we're trying to find another digital platform for Joel. I'm really hoping bookshop.org has been saying that they're going to get into ebooks at some point. I'm really hoping 2025 will be the year.
That would be awesome.
Because that would be great, because Bookshop supports
us.
Well, it supports us and independent
bookstores.
bookstores. So that would be really great. So you did kind of lose your digital platform. So my breakdown was print 56%, digital 2%, and audio 42%. I do not read ebooks. I don't know why I have such attitude about ebooks, but I just get irritated. So I'm pretty sure the 2%, and I wish I had looked at the actual number of what books, how many books that is. I think those were books that I had gotten through NetGalley.
Right.
So they were like electronic galleys of books, and that's the only reason I have a digital number at all. And this is the first year since I've really gotten into audiobooks that the divide is not 50-50. So I did 56% print and 42% audio. And it's usually pretty split down the middle. And I think the difference this year is that sometimes when I feel like stressed or anxious, I have a much easier time listening to an audio than I do sitting with a print book. And this year, or 2024, I think the opposite kind of happened. When I was feeling stressed and anxious, I had a very difficult time listening to an audio. Oh, hi, Scout. I don't know. You can't see him, but his face just popped up right here. I think you can see his ears. So he's just saying, hello. Hi. Hi.
He says, hi, buddy.
Say hi. And Teddy's like, what is he doing?
Teddy's not thrilled about this setup.
He's not thrilled, but he's being very tolerant of it. So it'll be interesting to see if I get back to more of a 50-50. So far in 2025, I've been reading mostly audio, or I've finished more audiobooks, but we're barely into the year.
And he's back.
And he's back from outer space. And we'll see how that goes. So we forgot how difficult it is to juggle 2 dogs.
Walking, driving, sleeping,
to doing a video, all of it. So, yeah, I think that's another reason this is temporary.
Yeah.
So next is most read authors. So do you want to go first or shall I?
No, go, because I think it's the same.
I think we do it that because I only had 2 authors that I read 3 books from. And those are N.R. Walker, who does queer romance, and Abby Jimenez. I read the entire series of The Part of Your World. Part of Your World, Yours Truly, and Just for the Summer. I read all 3 of those.
I did the same. So my top 3 books from an author was Abby.
And then you had...
my next one was David Gran, who did The Wager, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
So,
and then there was a short one about Antarctica.
Yes, there's another short one of Antarctica.
Yeah. I don't remember the name of it.
I want to say like All the White Places. I had 3 tied for 3 books each, and my third was Ellie Kennedy, who did a queer romance series.
Yeah.
I like to read series.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
And I don't know why that is.
Well, I get so invested in the characters, and I kind of feel like I form a bond with them when I read about them. That's why I like Claire Kills, because it follows Alex Carter and Alice Henderson, who follows another. So it's just like I like to follow them. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. It does. So, and the Abby Jimenez, I just have really enjoyed those books in 2024. And N.R. Walker, I think I did one without you because you had already read it. So in February of last year for Valentine's Day, I did To the Moon and Back, which I
did the year before.
Adorable.
So
that's an adorable one about a single dad, and he hires a male nanny, and sparks fly, and it's a really cute book.
So I give all romance books a 3-star, but I think To the Moon and Back, it actually got a 4-star. It was just that good.
Yeah.
And it had a really great underlying story to it, and it was just fun.
Yeah. The author who got shut out of 3 books for me is Edna O'Brien, because I read 2 of the 3 books in the Country Girls trilogy. So I'm probably going to read the 3rd one this year. I'm thinking in March, because, March, St. Patrick's Day, Irish. So I'm thinking that's when I'm going to complete the series. And then I also had Hisashi Kashiwai. I read 2 books by him, the Kamigawa Food Detectives and The Restaurant of Lost Recipes. Right. And I read 2 books by Alice Oseman because I realized I hadn't read the last 2 books in the Heartstopper series. And everything else was just a one-shot. Those were the only authors that I read more than 1 book of in 2024. So I didn't even repeat authors a whole lot, which is interesting.
Oseman may be my highest author read next year, because I haven't done the Heart series collection. Heartstopper, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The Heartstopper series, and I really would like to.
It will be interesting because we've watched every season of the show. So I had read the graphic novels that were available before the show came out, and you've only seen the show. And there are differences. Like the character of Isaac is not in...
I love Isaac.
So it is kind of... It's like Rizzoli and Isles. The series as a book is very different from the TV series. Yeah. But it's closer than that. Like the tone of Rizzoli and Isles as it was adapted really changed drastically. Yeah. But there are a lot of differences for Heartstopper. The only other metric that I have written down is average star rating.
I have that.
You do? Yeah. So I have, my average star rating was 3.45. I think it's actually lower than that now, because I went through after I wrote all of these down yesterday. I think I have a tendency to rate things higher when I've just read them. And then over time, it kind of mellows out. And that's, we'll talk about potential goals for 2025. There aren't really many. But one of my things is I'm going to try to be a little more, we'll talk about that part. I'm going to try to fix that. But 3.45 was what I had when I wrote these down yesterday.
My average was 3.54. So just a smidge higher. And as you're talking, I got thinking, because I do all my romance books at 3.0, because I shouldn't discount them as not being a kind of alliterative books. And counting them that way, I should. Because sometimes the underlying tone in all this is the best part of the book, and I think it really brings a lot of that book out. So I should treat them more like a book.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So did you have any other metrics
The only stats I had is my best reading month.
Oh, right. We do need to do that.
Yeah, my best
thank
reading
you.
month for reading books was in August. I read most of my books then. But then the most pages I read was in February. Because February, we kind of stay inside a little more, and we sit on the couch, drink coffee on the weekends.
It's
So
cold.
I'll read a book more.
In 2024, in February, it was below zero outside for a solid week. So, yeah.
And my most minutes are August, and that's when I do most of my driving for work.
Yeah.
So
Time on the road. Teddy is so asleep. We took them for a big hike today. And after we got back, you took Teddy to go grocery shopping,
Yeah.
and I stayed home with Scout, and so he got a nap while we were home. And Teddy, this is his nap time. So
Teddy and I went shopping and washed the car.
yeah, and I think so. Getting back to the months, I didn't write down my numbers because again, he's the efficient one here. But I'll show you my map month by month. I had a difficult start to the year because last January I read a lot of sort of mid-level books and they were fine, but I didn't really feel fired up. I had a hard time revving my motor to get my reading going. And then I think my least amount of books was March. And I don't really know why that is. You know, we were getting ready for a trip and I just didn't really feel like reading and I didn't feel like forcing it. And then it climbed up and I think I had 2 months in a row where I read 10 books. And I think they were like July and August. It was summer.
Yeah.
And then, go figure, I dipped again in November after the election because that's a whole thing.
After the election and us taking care of a friend.
Yes.
So.
And that was a whole thing. So that about sums up 2024. In terms of goals, I don't really, I have typically done an entire video about reading intentions for the year. And I don't think I'm going to do it this year because I already moved away from the idea of goals. Reading intentions feels a little more like it's just something you're going to work on. It's not like I'm going to do this and then you have to do it.
Right.
It's kind of like the difference between calling something a pile of possibilities and calling it a TBR for me. It's just subtle, but it's there. So I don't really want to do goals or intentions, but I do have some things I want to work on.
I kind of felt that way about 2 years ago. I stopped doing challenges because challenges, they want you to read a book that is not in your wheelhouse or outside your comfort zone, which should be good for me, but I just can't find a book that totally interests me in that area.
Well, I think sometimes reading challenges get so specific that it starts not being fun anymore. Like it can be fun to find a book that fits a prompt that is outside of your comfort zone. But when it's super specific, it's less fun. And I don't want to do anything like I remember one time a couple of years ago, I saw a book bingo card where one of the things was read a book with a blue door on the cover. And it's like, I don't want to find a book with a blue door on the cover. And then odds are I probably don't want to read it anyway. Like I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So
whatever. But it did turn out good. Read a book the year your father was born.
Yeah.
And that worked out good for me because that was Agatha Christie's Then There Were None.
Oh, yeah. That year I did the first James Baldwin book, Go Tell It on the Mountain, because I think that was published the same year my mother was born.
Yeah, it was.
So
I liked that. So that was fun.
So yeah, things like that. And for that one, it got me to read I have always wanted to read more James Baldwin. I still want to read more James Baldwin because I haven't read all of them. But it was like, that was probably not the one I would have chosen to do. And I'm really glad that I read it. So yeah, those are fun. He is so restless, but he does not want to get down.
He wants to lay down, but he doesn't know how.
Yeah. Well, I think there's also that little bit of anger. Like, he's still new here.
Yeah.
So, like, Jamie would do the same thing. She wanted to sit in your lap, but she would rest her front legs on your lap, and then her back legs would be standing on the chair behind you because she was like, I need to be ready to go at a moment's notice. So the thing I was talking about with thinking about StoryGraph ratings as something I want to try to pay attention to this year, I think I have been a little generous in thinking, well, this was a good book, and then giving it 4 stars. And I think something that's good or like a little more just like okay The mid-range on a scale of 0 to 5 stars is actually 2.5. So I need to stop thinking of 2.5 as a bad rating and start thinking of that as like, that's okay. So I need to do a little better about that.
So for you and for you out there, how do you rate your books?
Yeah.
It's like I could rate it on the writing is really good. I rate it on how it makes me feel. Because there are some books that are written poorly, but they make me feel good.
Yeah.
There are some books that are written very well. It's like, I'm like, eh. So
I think for me, if a book isn't written well, but it provokes a big emotional reaction and I feel like I got a lot out of it, I won't give it like 5 stars. And maybe it might even keep me from giving it like 4 stars. I might be like, well, I think I got a lot out of this, so instead of 4 stars, I might do like 3.75.
Okay.
So, and vice versa as well. Like, so I feel like I need to get something out of a book emotionally, but if it's just well written and I didn't get anything out of it, I won't grade it poorly, but it won't be like a 4-star read for me. I think like Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney, I thought that was a fascinatingly written book. The construction of it is really interesting. I just didn't enjoy it. So I think that to me was like a 2.5 star for me.
I think I read mainly on feels.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. Some people don't. I think that's fair. So but I do try to take it into a little bit of consideration, because if something's really well written and there's something about it that I could see other people getting out, I'm not going to give it a terrible rating just because I didn't feel connected to it. But yeah. So I try to think about it. But I do need to, I think in 2025, I'm going to start thinking of like, if it's an okay book, a 2.5 rating is fine. So I'm going to try to be a little more realistic about that.
Yeah, because I didn't do any 1-star books, and I did 2-star books, and I should have made the 2-star books a 1-star and just been more using the scope of everything.
Yeah, I think the star rating, I think I also kind of fall in the trap of like worrying about being mean. So I feel like I have to like edge up to closer to a 4-star rating a fair amount of the time. But again, like if 2.5 is middle of the road, then middle of the road is fine for a lot of books. So other than that, I did not read anything other than Night Watch by Jane Ann Phillips for my Pulitzer Prize project last year, and I want to try to work on that again. And I think I had it in my head that I wanted to do N. Scott Momaday all of last year, but then I made it harder because I thought, well, if I'm going to do N. Scott Momaday died a year ago in January of 2024 or February, but that's why I wanted to do him next. And I added an extra hurdle to it because I thought, well, because he was the first Native American to win a Pulitzer Prize for fiction. And until Louise Erdrich won a couple of years ago, he was the only. So I thought, if I'm going to do him, I need to do Oliver Lafarge and Laughing Boy first, because Oliver Lafarge is a white man who won a Pulitzer Prize for writing a book about Native culture or indigenous culture. So I thought, well, I should do that one first as a build up. So I kind of like added a hurdle and was making it a little not fun. And, you know, like the name of my channel says, this is supposed to be fun. So I might rethink and try to approach a little bit differently. Maybe hold N. Scott Momaday until I'm kind of feeling Laughing Boy a little more and approach differently. But I do want to get back to Pulitzer Prize books. I don't have a number for what I want to hit with nonfiction, because again, I don't like specific goals, but I do want to try to read a little more nonfiction. And actually, I'm already on track to do that this year, because I've read 2 nonfiction books and I just started a 3rd nonfiction book this morning.
I think my spread is good. 3/4 fiction, 1/4 nonfiction.
Yeah, and I feel like I should be somewhere closer to that.
Yeah.
I need to be more like Joel.
Be like me.
Be like him.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So is there anything else you want to think about in 2025?
No, just kind of like some, like James Baldwin, somebody I want to read, because I haven't read any of his.
Yeah.
I kind of want to push my literary reading up a little higher, but still keep some of my romance stuff.
Yeah.
But now that my ebooks are dwindling down, and because I normally did romance only on ebook.
Yeah.
And they're quick and easy and fun.
Yeah, and it was a great thing for you to read before bed. So, and the reading it digitally on your phone was a good way to do that. So,
but I'll find something and I'll start doing it.
Yeah, and I think it's just also important to remember that this could be a very stressful year. So I don't want to say I'm going to really work a lot on my Pulitzer Prize project, because if I feel stressed and anxious, probably not, like, that's what happened to me in 2024. I kept retreating into comfort reading a little bit, and that's fine. Cinnamon bun all the way. It did pretty well for me, and I did balance it with some serious books.
Yeah.
So I want to give myself some leeway, because we don't know what's going to happen this year. Do we, Scout?
No.
No, we don't.
Life is uncertain for all of us.
It is. So I think that's about it, right?
Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for meeting Scout, who is being very cute sitting with Joel right now. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Little squirmy, but I get
squirmy.
it. It's our first time.
Yep, this is new. Say hello to the people.
Say hi.
Say hi. Well, anyway, we will be back, and you'll be back for a wrap-up not too long from now,
It
because
is almost February.
which also means it's almost your birthday.
Could be.
We already have your cake planned out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Greg.
I do.
So I make everybody's birthday cake. I say, tell me what you want, I'll make it.
Yeah.
But Greg makes my birthday cake. So this year, I chose an old-fashioned cake. Old-fashioned meaning the cocktail old-fashioned, which is a whiskey. It sometimes has a little almond in it, but its main component is muddled cherries and oranges.
Yeah.
So it's going to be kind of a candied orange and cherry cake with a kind of in a white cake with kind of a light whiskey frosting. So probably I'd do a Jameson orange whiskey and just a little orange in it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good.
We did cookies like that, and it turned out really, really good.
You made those. So we do Christmas cookie boxes every year, and you made an old-fashioned shortbread that had those flavors. So that's where you got the idea for the cake. So yeah, he does this fun thing where our close friends and family, he will say, like, okay, pick what your birthday cake is, and then he'll make it. So a couple of years ago, I said to you, it's like, okay, but somebody needs to make you a birthday cake. So you have been very kind at choosing achievable cakes for me.
I chose tiramisu one year, and that kind of stressed you out.
Well, but it turned out really well.
Great.
It turned out, if I do say so myself, it turned out
great.
really well. Yeah. So but so that is going to be a fun cake.
Our first year, Makoto was living with us, our son. He picked an opera cake.
Yeah.
And that stressed me out.
Yeah.
But I did a good one.
You did. It was a really good opera cake. So yeah. But anyway, we got totally sidetracked into something else.
Yeah.
So the point is, you're going to be back soon.
I will be back.
To wrap up the month of January.
Yeah.
I've had a very good reading month in January. Have you?
I have.
Yeah. So.
Because I just did a 2,000-mile trip, so I got to do
yeah.
book after book after book after book, and it was a series, and it was fun.
Not so much on the way back.
No.
Oh, he is getting sleepy. He's like, no, I'm not. Not so much on the drive back with him, though, because
I was reading Wicked, and he was not into Wicked, so we had to put it on the Billy Joel channel and have a Billy Joel dance party all the way home, and that helped.
That helped.
We had so much fun.
And he's doing better in the car now.
Yeah.
So anyway, we just keep talking.
Okay.
So so I'm just gonna say, as always, we really appreciate your time, and we will be back soon, both of us, or possibly all four of us.
All four of us.
So until then, happy reading.
Happy baking.
And happy barking, because this one actually barks.
He barks.
He barks. Bye.